Hi, friends, and welcome to the Wines of the Loire Valley quick class. Now, this is your first quick class with me. I love doing these because they're really short, digestible lessons for you to really understand the wines of these regions without going too in depth. It's really just kind of that surface level, what you need to know, and all of that in a really fast format way. So, let me tell you, this really is a quick class of the Loire Valley because there's a lot to know about the Loire. It's a really big region in France. There's a lot going on in it. So, I've really put just the very specific things that you need to know about this region in this quick class. So when we're looking at France, right, the Loire Valley is actually a huge region in it. The Loire Valley is actually named after the Loire River, or it follows the Loire River, which is the longest river in France. It actually extends from the middle of France all the way into the Atlantic Ocean. And because you have that, that means that there's just a lot of climates, a lot of different soil types, a lot of different factors when we're growing grapes and making wine out of there. So we're getting a lot of different wine styles out of here. The Loire Valley is actually the fourth most visited region in France. It's not too far away from Paris. I don't have Paris on the map here, but Paris is pretty much right here. It's only about a 2-hour drive or so to the majority of the areas in the Loire Valley. So it's a really big touristy area because historically this was a really famous area and it's got a lot of really beautiful chateaus in it. So without getting too far into the histories, that's just kind of what you need to know. It's also the largest white wine region in France. So it's interesting, since red wines are so much more in fashion these days than white wines, I feel like the Loire Valley has kind of taken a little bit of a back step as far as its popularity around the world. I actually, in my region here, I have a hard time finding wines from the Loire Valley sometimes because there's just not as much demand in there. But hopefully with taking this little class with me, it'll inspire you to go find more of these wines so that we get a little bit more demand for them. And so our wine shops start stocking them a little more. That's always the goal, right? So here's really what you need to take away with Loire Valley is how beautiful it is. This is one of the famous chateaus, Chenin. So famous because it is built so much onto the river. Absolutely gorgeous. And basically back in the day, this is where a lot of the French elite would build their summer homes. And this was a very big vacation destination for the wealth. So really beautiful area to visit on top of, enjoying their wines, right? So when we are studying the Loire Valley, there's actually 4 different grapes that really make up the bulk of what we're looking at for the Loire. Now, there's many other grapes being grown in this area, but I wanted to just highlight the ones that are the most famous. So we have Muscadet, which is also known as Melon de Bourgogne. We have Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, and Cabernet Franc. Now, I don't have a slide for the Muscadet, unfortunately, but I will tell you that Muscadet is a really fun wine to have with oysters. It's very simple. It's just light, dry, easy to drink, not super complicated, and it's grown in the Nantes region of the Loire Valley. And the most famous region you're going to see from Muscadet is called Muscadet Sèvres et Maine. So that's a fun grape, especially if you're getting into wine and you want to explore some new grape varieties out there. Muscadet is one of those that, like, when you find it, it definitely get a bottle because it's worth trying. I would equate it kind of similar to like a Pinot Grigio because it's not very intense. It's not super like impactful or anything. It's just meant for like, an easy afternoon bottle of wine. They're usually lower in alcohol, really, really easy to drink. Then we have Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, and Cabernet Franc, which I have specific slides on here for you. So let's talk about Chenin Blanc first. Why is there a picture of a mouse on here? Because now that I've said this, you're never going to forget it. So Chenin Blanc is a very interesting grape in that it's made in all styles of sweetness, right? You can get a bone dry Chenin Blanc to a dessert sweet Chenin Blanc style and everything in between. So not many grapes in the world are really created that way. I would say Riesling is the other really famous grape that does that. So Chenin Blanc is really unique in that way. Usually, though, from the Loire region, it's usually in that off-dry spectrum. Now, what this means is that there is residual sugar in the wine, but it's not a dessert, sweet, heavy, cloying kind of style. So I really love Vouvrays. I think they're some of the best wines to pair with food because they have that little bit of sweetness on there, which is really fun. So typical aromas and flavors you'll get from Chenin Blanc are going to be like lemon or yellow apple or pear. Sometimes this beautiful honeyed note, sometimes like a ripe pineapple note. But the marker that a lot of sommeliers use for Chenin Blanc is going to be this steel wool, mousy, kind of a stuffy note. I don't know how to explain it any better way, but next time you pick up a bottle of Chenin Blanc, look for this, and I think you're gonna see what I'm talking about. I would just say, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just this mousy stuffiness. So think of like almost like a fluff kind of stuffiness. You will get that in Chenin Blanc, it's a really hard wine to blind usually, but that's the marker that a lot of sommeliers will use for it. So within the Loire region, you're going to find a lot of different stuff for Chenin Blanc. However, the two most famous regions are going to be Sauvignon and Vouvray. Now, Sauvignon, you don't see a ton of. They're very expensive, but they produce the world's greatest dry versions of Chenin Blanc. So very unique. I actually had one just the other day. And it was so special. So it's awesome. So if you find a bottle of this, I definitely recommend buying it and enjoying it. But what's going to be easier and more affordable for you to find is going to be Vouvray. So Vouvray is, of course, 100% Chenin Blanc. They're made in both still and sparkling wines. There's a lot of sparkling wine actually that comes out of the Loire region, and a lot of it comes from Chenin Blanc. And Vouvray is famous for that sparkling wine, but it'll also make really nice off-dry styles or the norm for Chenin Blanc based wines. So I love Vouvray as well. Like I said, these are wines that they're easy, they're crowd pleasers. They're ones that people are not going to hate Vouvray, if you ask me. So if you're going to a friend's house for dinner and you have no idea what to bring, this wine will probably pair with most of the dishes that you'll be serving because of that little bit of sweetness in it. Okay, so the most famous red grape of Loire Valley is going to be Cabernet Franc. So especially here on the west coast of the United States, people love Cab Franc. I feel like it's having a moment. But this is actually the area in the world that has been growing Cab Franc and continues to do so. And it's most famous for Cabernet Franc is what we'll say. So fun facts about Cab Franc is it's actually the parent grape of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. So it's an older grape than Cabernet Sauvignon. And for that reason, it's usually a little bit more of this rustic style of wine. When you taste Cabernet Franc, first of all, it's a lot more red fruit than black fruit, and it's a little bit lighter in body and style. And the tannins are there, and they're actually a little bit more like, they're more rustic. If you had to guess like the difference between something elegant and something kind of just, rough around the edges, that's what Cabernet Franc tannins are like. So I actually really love it for that reason, but a lot of people kind of throws them off. The marker though for Cabernet Franc, when you stick your nose in in a glass of Cab Franc, you're gonna get this beautiful pencil lead note. I know that sounds weird, but it actually smells like graphite, and it's this beautiful minerality that you really don't get in many other wines, but Cab Franc from the Loire Valley is going to really carry that in a beautiful way. So Chinon and Bourgaille, it's a tough one. If for the English transition, I would say like Bourgaille, right? Chinon, Bourgaille are the most famous towns for Cabernet Franc in the Loire. And you're going to find Chinon a little bit easier in stores. And if you have never had one, I definitely recommend getting one, especially if you tend to like New World style Cabernet Francs. This is going to be something so different, and you're going to really like this. It's going to be awesome. So I'm a huge fan. Finally, there's some really amazing Sauvignon Blancs coming from the Loire Valley. So this is actually not Sauvignon Blanc's hometown. Bordeaux is Sauvignon Blanc's hometown, but the Loire Valley, I would say, in the past past century or so, has become more famous for Sauvignon Blanc, just because their style tends to be more steely, herbaceous, easy to drink, just has this beautiful minerality, isn't super powerful like our New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, but isn't as round as what we usually find from Bordeaux and California as well. So the most famous regions for Loire Valley Sauvignon Blanc are going to be Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé. Now, it is possible to find a red bottle of Sancerre. That means it's a Pinot Noir. They are growing Pinot Noir here as well. But I would say that the white Sancerre is the most famous. It's actually really interesting how famous Sancerre has gotten in the last couple decades or so. I feel like when I was first getting into wine, Sancerre was definitely on the cheaper side, and now it's hard for me to find a bottle under 35 bucks just because it's so well known. There's higher demand for it, so the price has gone up. Also, production-wise and stuff, it's gone up for that. So Pouilly-Fumé is a smaller region than Sancerre, but at least for me recently, I've been able to find those bottles are actually a little bit more affordable than Sancerre. So if you find a bottle of Pouilly-Fumé, they're really cool because basically the soil type in Pouilly-Fumé is flint, and it imparts this gunflint note kind of thing. If you struck these two rocks together, it kind of gives you this smoky note, and that imparts flavors into the wine. So it's really beautiful. It's very subtle too. It's not like your wine is going to be super smoky. It's just a really beautiful nuanced part of that I really enjoy. And that is, of course, Sancerre. Personal picture. It was so beautiful the day that I visited there. So I hope you've enjoyed this Loire Valley quick class. Those are the grapes you need to know and the regions that they're associated with. Have fun. There's so many wines to explore from the Loire Valley. So we're really just, tip of the iceberg with all of this, but hopefully this is really helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next quick class. Cheers.